Greetings, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Kiva Williams. I'm with the General Services Administration and today's administrative host. We are about to begin officially, but first some housekeeping notes. We are recording today's session and it will be available later on the GSA YouTube channel. Live captions are available through the link in the chat. We will reserve time at the end of the event for Q&A. Please use the Q&A module to send written questions to our speaker. Now I'll turn it over to Skip to kick off the session. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Kiva, and good afternoon, everybody, and good morning to those of you out west. We have a big agenda ahead of us. Let's get started. Skip Jentsch is my name. I am the GSA schedule lead for the Cloud Special Item Number, or SIN, 518-210 Charlie. That's the subset of the GSA schedule that contains all the cloud stuff. That's under the Federal Acquisition Service under the General Services Administration, GSA. I'm a member of the cloud team here at GSA. We offer access to agencies to the MRAS system, the Free Market Research as a Service system. That's where agencies can fill out a short questionnaire, give it to GSA. GSA then publishes an RFI on that agency's behalf. GSA then receives, collates, tabulates, and reports back in summary form and in detail form all of the responses that have come in from industry, responses to that RFI. We also offer free cloud acquisition strategy guidance, like meeting with agencies to figure out what contract type they should use to fit the pay-as-you-go, cockamamie, crazy cloud billing rates. And we also provide examples and strategizing on cloud funding strategies. We also offer free scope reviews of your cloud requirements document, whether it's a statement of objectives, statement of work, RFI, or so forth. We are the curators of the GSA Cloud SIN 518-210 Charlie for all the cloud-based products and services, including labor hours that are cloud-focused, so that a one-stop shopping experience can be had. All the cloud services and the labor hour services to go with them are available under the Cloud SIN. We're also the content moderators at the GSA Cloud Information Center at cic.gsa.gov. Here's a sample screenshot of an MRAS, the Market Research as a Service, only one page out of a PDF that contains a whole lot of information, like the total number of responses, the number of whom are small businesses, what contract they recommend to be used for the requirement, by industry code, by SIN, pool, or constellation, by socioeconomic breakdown. That's just one slide out of many that are delivered to agencies when they run an MRAS. Here are two screenshots from the GSA Cloud Information Center, the homepage on the left, and on the right, a screenshot of one of the most visited pages of all at cic.gsa.gov. That's the page where you can download sample templates for cloud requirements and cut and paste them by section into your own requirements document, plagiarizing these templates to your heart's content. One of the most visited pages of all. So let's start today by establishing a definition of cloud. It's a little bit ephemeral, a little bit confusing to people. Let's start by talking about how you might add compute capability, non-cloud, to an existing data center before there was ever a cloud. Starting on the left-hand, top left-hand corner, you would order servers. You might have a contract or BPA in place or what have you. Moving to the right, little truck comes and delivers those physical servers. Moving to the right, they must be unloaded from the truck. And then going around to the lower left-hand corner, those servers must be unboxed and racked and stacked in that computer room down in the basement of your agency, the dark room with all the flashing lights and the extra cooling and the extra power. They must be physically wired to the enterprise to be able to come online. And last but not least, in the lower right-hand corner, they must be installed and configured with an operating system like Windows Server or Linux or Unix or something like that. In the cloud, it's a lot easier. You simply order the servers and you are done. They are automatically added to your compute enterprise. There's no delivery, there's no little truck, no nothing. It's a click and go. That's the number one reason I feel that IT shops across government and private industry are getting into cloud. It's for the agility. They can add and subtract and change the complexion of their individual servers on the compute network. Here's the formal definition coming from the NIST people, the academic definition of NIST. It's a 5-part definition. And in order to be considered cloud, by this definition, a cloud instance must adhere to all 5 of these characteristics. First up is on-demand self-service, that the cloud capability is able to be unilaterally provisioned by the customer, usually with an online portal. What that means is you don't have to call somebody on the phone or fill out some paperwork to provision or deprovision cloud computing once a contract is in place. Secondly, that online portal is available across all devices or locations across a broad network, and that's usually the public internet or a dedicated internet connection. Thirdly, resource pooling, that the vendor pools together all of their customers in a multi-tenant environment for economies of scale. When they aggregate all their customers in the same facility or group of facilities, you can imagine how the economies of scale are leveraged so that expensive servers can be essentially rented for pennies per hour. Fourth, that these changes, adding or subtracting capability, is done quickly, rapidly, in minutes or seconds, minutes, or hours, not days, weeks, or months. And last but not least, cloud computing charges accrue only when they are being used, not when they are deprovisioned. So like electricity or gallons of public water or cubic feet of natural gas, you pay only for what you use. Here's a couple more terms we want to demystify for you today. Starting at the bottom of the pyramid, you have infrastructure as a service. Now, when you had that little truck come and add physical computers in the basement to your enterprise-wide infrastructure, that was adding to the compute infrastructure of your agency. When you add compute capability from the cloud, you are adding infrastructure as a service, not in a box, but infrastructure as a service, IaaS or IaaS. That's basically a rented bare metal computer that's virtual, costing pennies per seconds, minutes, or hours instead of tens of thousands of dollars when you buy it off the truck in a box. Moving up the pyramid. Yes, go ahead.
Pardon, I'm going to take over the slide deck. Keep speaking. I'm just going to present.
Okay, I'll let you know when to change the slide. Next up the pyramid is platform as a service. That's nothing more than infrastructure as a service with some extra features. Platform as a service is infrastructure as a service plus, say, an operating system like Windows Server or Linux or Unix that's pre-configured so the your IT shop does not have to do it. It comes pre-configured with an operating system. And at the top of the heap is software as a service. Everyone on the webinar today is already an expert at software as a service. When you provisioned for your own self a personal copy of Google Mail or Microsoft Mail, You did not download anything. You did not go to the store and bring something home and load it on your computer. You are executing software as a service over the wire, an application that does not reside on your computer, but you address it over the public internet. That's software as a service. Next slide, please. Kiva, I just hit that myself. So we're on the right slide. Here's some more terms that we want to demystify today. Cloud deployment models. On the top right-hand corner is the public cloud. Everyone on the webinar today is already an expert at the public cloud. When you provision for your own self that personal copy of Google Mail, Yahoo Mail, Microsoft Mail, you did so over the public cloud. In other words, a multi-tenant cloud opened, the multi-tenants, they can't see each other's data, but they're aggregated together in the same facility or group of facilities. Now, compare that in the top left-hand corner to the private cloud, where it has all the cloud features, but you are actually physically segregated from other users. That's for extra security. In the lower left-hand corner, we have the community cloud. These tenants are grouped by similar interests or capabilities or characteristics. For instance, a government community cloud would be open to only government customers. Those government customers would enjoy enhanced security, and agencies can expect to pay more for a government community cloud. And in the middle, a hybrid cloud would be a combination of any of the others. What about pizza as a service? This allegory is meant to explain a little bit more technically about the difference between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. For instance, the left-hand column here, when you make a pizza at home, the homeowner is responsible for everything from the ingredients to the kitchen facilities, the fuel for the oven, and so forth. When you go to the food store and bring home a frozen pizza, some of these functions are outsourced to the pizza service provider, like the ingredients and the pizza pie pan and some of the pizza expertise. When you have a pizza delivered in column number 3, you have pizza delivery taking responsibility for more features like the oven and fuel for the oven and so forth. And finally, in column number 4, when you dine at the pizza restaurant, everything is outsourced to the pizza service provider. Now, this roughly collates down the bottom to on-premises computing, non-cloud, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Bare metal IaaS, platform as a service with some extra features like operating systems, and software as a service where they take care of everything. Here's the allegory translated a little more technically. When you have on-premises computers, no cloud, in column 1, all the boxes are blue. They're the responsibility of the agency customer. IaaS, there we go. Kiva's changed the size on me. So IaaS, the cloud service provider, has taken responsibility for the physical data center, the network infrastructure, and the hosting infrastructure. With platform as a service, PaaS, now the network security controls and some of the applications have been outsourced to the cloud service provider. And finally, with software as a service, everything that can be assigned to the cloud service provider has been. For example, take a look at the first 3 rows, left to right. Data governance and rights management will never be outsourced to a cloud service provider, because who decides who can see what, who can edit what, who can delete what, who can see what? These are always going to be the responsibility of the agency. Likewise, row number 2, the client endpoints. those laptops, those desktops, those phones that are addressing the cloud instances will always be the responsibility of the customer agency. And finally, row 3, accountant access management, passwords, and uh, uh, who can authenticate to address the cloud. That will always be, those security items will always be the responsibility of the agency. Next slide, please. Just the title. There we go. So, what about FedRAMP? What about security? In the next 7 or 8 minutes, you as a non-technical person will learn everything you need to know about FedRAMP ever. 7 or 8 minutes. Time it from 12:16 Eastern. Let's go. First, before we look at FedRAMP, you have to understand some of the aspects of cloud of security in a non-cloud environment. These are security protocols that have been in place for years and years and years before cloud was ever a thing. First, FISMA, Federal Information Security Management Act. It establishes categories for sensitivity of data. In other words, what if the bad guys can view the data and confidentiality is lost? What if the data blows up and becomes unreadable? Integrity is lost. What if the data goes offline and is not available? These are the only 3 things that can happen, bad things that can happen to computer data. And FISMA seeks to categorize them. FISMA has 3 categorization levels. FISMA high data, for example, would be, let's say, crime tipster names and addresses, phone numbers. If revealed, those crime tipster names and addresses might be subject to damage or threat to life, limb, and property. That qualifies as FISMA high. FISMA moderate, other things not so much. FISMA low, my example is the menu at your agency's cafeteria for lunch today. If the bad guys see it, or if it blows up or becomes not available, then the impact to life and limb and property would be low. Now, the DoD has their own scale. It roughly is equivalent, however. It's their SRG security requirements guide using impacts level 2 through 6. It's roughly the same scheme. Next slide, please. Remember, this is for non-cloud systems. There's OMB Circular A130. It was created in 1985, years and years before cloud was ever a thing. It directs how all U.S. government IT systems must be managed, including the use of FISMA that we saw on the previous page, and including NIST. Here we go. NIST, Special Publication 837, 137, and 53. These are nothing more than big, thick manuals with hundreds and hundreds of listed security controls. What is a security control? Here's an example. Passwords shall be 8 characters in length. Here's another security control. Passwords shall be refreshed every 90 days. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of security controls like this, ranging from how the room will be managed and who can manage the room and what kind of security, physical security will be in the room, and so forth. And guess what? They are indexed by FISMA, high, medium, or low. Third, an assessment and authorization, not for cloud, but for the data center in your agency's basement. An ANA is required by FISMA. What is it? It's the process by which you send a team with a clipboard with all the NIST security controls, indexed by FISMA medium, high, or low, into the data center and check off the boxes next to each control, whether they have been implemented, not been implemented, plan to be implemented, will never be implemented because of budget or other reasons. And the product of this ANA is an authority to operate, or ATO. Wait a minute, Skip, that's a FedRAMP word. No, it's not. An ATO predates FedRAMP. It's an authority to operate. It is a summary of all of those security control checked or unchecked boxes. An ATO letter might read like this. I have examined the clipboard that my team used to check all the boxes, whether or not all the security controls relevant to my agency, whether we are FSMA high, medium, or low. And I realize the exposure we have by putting this system into production. And I hereby authorize this system to be put into live production. That's an ATO. Who signs that letter? Is it OMB? No. Is it the Pentagon? No. Is it the Executive Office of the President or a congressional delegation? No. This is a self-service certification. The owner of the system, usually the agency head or perhaps the CIO of the agency, signs off on this ATO for the computer system that's in the basement of the agency before there was ever a cloud. Next slide, please. Okay, now you're ready for FedRAMP. So can you imagine if an agency puts government data into the cloud, isn't that cloud now an extension of a federal data center? And therefore, shouldn't it follow the same rules as a federal data center? The answer is yes. A lot of changes with FedRAMP for you technical people. Links at the bottom of the slide here are for you. Next slide, please. So the FedRAMP baseline of NIST controls are enumerated like this. For FedRAMP High, there are 421 NIST cloud security controls picked and tailored from those NIST books by the FedRAMP program. FedRAMP is a GSA program mandated by OMB. For FedRAMP Moderate, there's only 325 NIST cloud controls that are required to be put on that clipboard. And for FedRAMP Low, only 125 controls. Now, the vendors, the CSPs, cloud service providers, pay for a one-time ANA done at their own facilities by a certified consultant, certified by the FedRAMP program. And so when an agency wants to contract for cloud, they don't have to send the team with the clipboard. And the second agency doesn't have to do it. The third agency and the fourth agency, this one and done philosophy is what underlines all of FedRAMP. The CSPs pay for the team with the clipboard to go in and check off all those security controls that are appropriate for FedRAMP high, moderate, or low. And the result is a FedRAMP authorization. Next slide, please. A FedRAMP authorization is nothing more than a similar authorization letter that I read off the top of my head a minute ago. It can be leveraged and inserted into the agency's system-wide ATO. So it's a real time saver. The FedRAMP program allows the absorption, if you will, of a vendor's cloud instance into the agency's overall enterprise infrastructure as far as an ATO goes. Next slide, please. So that was your 7 to 9 minute FedRAMP lesson. Now let's talk about how cloud computing is sold commercially. Often it is sold by minutes, seconds, hours, or days, not shrink wrapped in a box and delivered by a truck, but rented by the minutes, seconds, hours, or days over the public internet or some other data connection. It also is sold by a defined longer term. You can save money by committing to a year or 3 and getting a what they might call a reserved instance or a reservation, getting very steep discounts for IS and PAS. Your IT shop, your contracting shop has to work very closely with the agency's finance people to make sure that they don't run against any restrictions as far as use of money when you span fiscal years by renting computers for 1 or 3 years. Next slide, please. Cloud computing is also sold by the application user seat for like software as a service per day, month, or year, many times for the year in the case of software as a service or email as a service. Sometimes you are billed by the transaction. You might be able to log into a gigantic cloud-based database, but you don't get charged until you issue a query against that database. So that's transaction-based billing. Thirdly, by operation, maybe uploads, downloads, read-write operations, and so forth. You might get billed by the operation only when you execute those operations and not when you just sit there logged in. And last on this page, you also might get billed by bandwidth consumed by uploading or downloading kind of as a surcharge. You have to read the terms and conditions of your contract with your cloud vendor to be sure you understand all the billing methods. Here's contracting for cloud. We often recommend a broadly stated requirements document like a statement of objectives because you don't want to call out a specific CPU, CPU 1234 with 10 bytes, 10 gigabytes of memory and so much storage and so forth, because that constrains you. You want to be able to access the vendor's entire catalog. Your IT shop wants to be able to be agile and change the number, the type, the size, the strength of the compute power that they are provisioning for themselves. And that's why we recommend a broadly defined requirements document. We also recommend a BPA against the GSA schedule. BPAs are one of the most favored methods of all of contracting for cloud. And the reason is a BPA carries no funding. The funding only is earmarked each time an order is issued against the BPA, and the number of orders can be infinite. So that's because nobody in their right mind can really pin down very accurately what a year's worth of cloud expenditures is going to be. So if you issue a BPA, you can inch by inch creep toward a final number by issuing an order every month, every week, every day, however long you want, adding funding to the BPA with each order. And that way you can true up what really you've earmarked for cloud near the end of the year without going to having to remediate or add funding or subtract funding. That's why a BPA is one of the most favored ways for the federal government to contract for cloud. Next slide, please. You might consider awarding to a reseller of more than one CSP. For example, your IT shop might have different staffing capabilities 1 month or 1 year after another. An application might run better at one CSP than another, so they often want a selection of cloud providers to be able to be agile. If you contract with a reseller of more than one cloud service provider, you might be able to get away with one contract action instead of 2 or 3. Second paragraph here, consider refraining from making FedRAMP authorization a requirement. Wait a minute, Skip, I thought FedRAMP was required. Well, yes, it is. It's required to place government data in the cloud, not to buy cloud. There's all kinds of FedRAMP is not a requirement to get onto the GSA schedule. Technically, strictly speaking, that's because an agency could buy a cloud instance that is not yet FedRAMPed and assist the vendor in achieving a FedRAMP authorization. So strictly speaking, it is unfair competition to require a FedRAMP authorization. Now, the way that most agencies don't want to do that, so it's expensive and time consuming. So what they usually do is require that respondents to a solicitation state what their FedRAMP status is, and then score them high if they are already authorized, and score them low if they are not. The best funding for cloud might be flexible working capital or other no-year money, because if you take advantage of those discounts for those reservations, your cloud instance rental increment might be greater, might extend past the current government fiscal year. And again, the cic.gsa.gov contains templates that you can copy and paste from. And then you can also see live RFQs at GSA's eBuy Open. Next slide, please. We often get inquiries about marketplace third-party software. If an agency has a contract with a CSP, can't they just go into their marketplace third-party software and get some finance software or HR software or some other kind of application or other items that are not specifically called out in the requirements document that was published in the original solicitation? So the answer is often no. Contracting officers have to be very aware of what is being provisioned off that online portal. If it's not something that was stated explicitly in that original requirements document that was published with the solicitation, then it's unfair competition to provision that that item with the click of a mouse. Next slide, please. Let's talk about OneGov. Now, this is the new, highly publicized GSA initiative that's gotten a lot of press. Here at the Cloud Team, we are receiving 6, 7, 8 inquiries a day from federal agencies trying to access this. Let's explain a little bit of about how to access the OneGov discount pricing. Number one, you can view the latest discounts at this URL here. Now, everyone on the line today will get a copy of this presentation, so you don't have to scribble down this URL right this minute. But you'll see, and this is a moving target, they're adding pricing deals to the OneGov strategy pricing seemingly on a daily basis. So that website contains all the up-to-date information. Number two, for AI specifically, you can go to gsa.gov/buy-AI. You can also contact the Cloud Team here at cloudinfo@gsa.gov for help navigating the terms, accessing the contracts, and what have you. And not to make things too complicated, you know, these OneGov discount pricings, they are nothing more than a GSA schedule offering on steroids. It is a GSA schedule offering with negotiated lower prices. GSA schedule prices are simply ceiling prices, and they can be negotiated lower by you, the agency, or by GSA themselves, which in this case, that's exactly what they've done. Agencies may also request OneGov pricing at the time of award, letting of a contract, at the time of issuing each order under a contract, or BPA. Now, these are times where you can negotiate a contract that has been part of the success of the GSA schedule all along. It's just that the OneGov strategy has done an initial discount for you. And many of the GSA schedule offerings that contain OneGov pricing can be found on GSA Advantage at gsaadvantage.gov. Any further questions, please go ahead and send them to cloudinfo@gsa.gov. Next slide, please. We get questions about a cloud as a small business set-aside. You know, cloud is often sold by small business resellers, and the CSPs are most always the vendors, the OEMs, if you will. The CSPs themselves are most often large businesses. You know, there is no government-wide judgment call on whether cloud is a product or a service, nothing in writing. The SBA, however, has made such a call for their own selves. The SBA considers cloud a service, not a product. Therefore, all the normal product waivers, like the non-manufacturing rule and everything else do not apply. That makes a set aside for cloud largely indefensible. Now, an agency can still award to a small business. They can get credit for awarding to a small business. It's just that they can't, it's just that a set aside is not defensible. Next slide, please. Here's some citations on that back up what I'm telling you. Final rule, the rulemaking where SBA determined that cloud is a service, not a product. And 13 CFR also cited here. You'll get this in the deck that's sent out to everyone on the line today. Next slide, please. How do you choose a contract type? We've already talked about the advantages and how popular a blanket purchase order is with multiple task or delivery orders, and how popular it is that the federal government is using this. Now, remember, it's a no-no to issue an IDIQ within an IDIQ, but GSA has an exception to this right in the FAR. It's okay to issue a BPA within, against rather, the GSA schedule. You can also issue a contract for cloud with optional contract line items or CLINs. That's another way you can incrementally fund a cloud, your cloud annual expenditures. Next slide, please. Years ago, we used to recommend that you contract for cloud on a time and materials basis, T for time, not material, because cloud, when rented by the seconds, minutes, or hours, mostly emulates labor hours. How many labor hours would you have in a month? How many cloud hours would you have in a month? They were very similar. But a BPA with a contract with optional orders with optional CLINs is today the most popular. Next slide, please. Oh, Kiva, can we get the next slide? There we go. Now, speaking of which, the FAR does not mention cloud ever. Well, I have to eat my words. It now mentions cloud, but only as far as security stuff is concerned, not by how to buy cloud. So GSA has stepped into this void. FAR 8403B says that GSA may establish special ordering procedures for any particular GSA schedule offering. And the acquisition letter that GSA published in December 21 applies to the only to the GSA schedule Cloud SIN 518-210 Charlie. That became effective in 2022. It creates an RTO, a requirements task order, not a requirements contract, a requirements task order that can be let against a Cloud SIN contract or via a BPA in an order. Guidance is published in this ordering guide with a link here to help agencies understand and invoke this new as of 2022 consumption-based ordering procedures. This remains, I believe, the only government-wide regulatory cover for buying cloud on a consumption basis. If your agency has any contracting officers who are a little leery of buying cloud in this manner, here is the regulatory cover that they might find comforting. Next slide, please. And specific guidance for these new procedures is found in Appendix A of that ordering guide that I referenced. It contains the relevant GSAR clause by number and specifies that all cloud services are considered firm fixed price. So no one has to worry about a time and material aspect of this. Most agencies are dreadfully fearful of time and materials. So everything under this contract, under these special ordering procedures, is firm fixed price. And the bona fide need is addressed here with this allocation of incremental funds. And this requires that the vendor must provide special tools to allow government to track the burn rate of funds. And these special ordering procedures are automatically inserted into each GSA schedule Cloud SIN vendor's contract with GSA. Now, that's not a contract that is in exchange of money for goods and services. That's the contract with the vendor to get on the schedule, just to be listed on the schedule. That's what we mean by contract in this case. Next slide, please. Here's the other acquisition letter that GSA published. A lot of contracting officers were balking at the idea of paying for an annual subscription to software as a service. Annual versus monthly is the way to go. You save so much money. So last March 2024, GSA issued an internal letter providing guidance on payment for software as a service, that paying for a year's worth of software as a service is not an advanced payment, which is prohibited by the FAR. It is rather an upfront payment. What's the difference? The difference is when you provision for yourself another seat, another subscription to software as a service, access is delivered immediately. This flies up against the advanced payments statutes that say the government cannot pay for something that has not yet been delivered. Well, it is delivered, and that's what GSA is arguing here. In fact, you're not going to get the bill for that annual subscription to software as a service until a month later. So you are paying in arrears. Now, what about the next 11 months? GSA still considers it an upfront payment, not an advance payment. And this letter can be leveraged by any agency, even though it's an internal GSA letter. And the letter does say that there will be regulations modified to adhere to this letter, but they've since decided that no new regulations need to be codified here because it's an interpretation of existing regulations. Next slide, please. Let's talk about the GSA schedule under which the Cloud SIN falls. You know, the GSA schedule has its own FAR subpart 8.4, 15,000 contractors, 20 million products and services. It is the elephant in the room, the largest government-wide contract of any kind. That's a testament to its success. Moving to the middle, it is a self-service platform, not requiring any special training unless you want to have some training, but a delegation of procurement authority and special training are not necessary. There are training sessions available like this one to how to use the GSA schedule. The URL to find those events is listed here. And then last but not least, the GSA schedule negotiating ceiling prices can be further discounted in vendor-to-vendor competition. Now, the OneGov people have already done some of this for you. And some real value is found there in the OneGov pricing. But they can be negotiated again and again at the contract letting level, at the and also at the order level. Next slide, please. The GSA schedule allows for all kinds of contract types, including the BPA, as we mentioned, firm fixed price, time and materials, contracts with not to exceed NTE CLINs, all of which are real helpful when it comes to trying to incrementally fund cloud expenditures. And don't forget the third column here, the special ordering procedures that are only applicable to the Cloud SIN that give regulatory cover to buying cloud on a consumption basis. Next slide, please. We've mentioned the SIN several times, 518, 210 Charlie, 800 vendors, new requirements task orders, Cloud SIN agencies might solicit only the vendors on the SIN, narrowing the field. and cutting down the number of nonsense replies that you might get from industry that are not qualified to respond. Onboarding of new technology offerings is continuous, so you'll always get the latest and greatest technology and latest and greatest pricing on the GSA schedule. Requirements task orders, those RTOs, are only available through the SIN, and each item under the SIN gets a technical evaluation to make sure it really is a cloud offering and not a hosted data center instance or some other cloud-ish offering. And that technical evaluation is performed by yours truly and also a team here at the cloud team here at GSA. Next slide, please. Don't forget the GSA Interact for Cloud, this blog-like platform you can subscribe to and get all the newsy tidbits delivered about cloud and software delivered right to your email inbox. Next slide, please. The Ascend Cloud BPA, it's official. Work has been indefinitely paused. Next slide, please. Don't forget DIOS, a BPA that's government-wide and only has one general offering in it, O365. You issue a task order and go. Very easy. DIOS at gsa.gov is the contact information you need to get started. And a portal at the bottom of the screen here. You'll get this when the deck is delivered to you. Next slide, please. Don't forget EIS. If you want to piggyback cloud onto your telecom contract, you may. Next slide, please. Don't forget Alliant 2. If you want to put an integrator, a contractor in charge of buying cloud for you, you can do that using Alliant. The one drawback here is that you cannot, the integrator may not issue a BPA for incremental funding against the GSA schedule. Next slide, please. Resources. On the left, cic.gsa.gov. That's where you get those templates. In the middle, that's how you contact the cloud team here at GSA. On the right, you can initiate your own MRAS visiting the MRAS webpage. The link is here on the right-hand portion of your screen. Next slide, please. And of course, the mother of all email addresses, cloudinfo@gsa.gov, to get in touch with the cloud team here for all your questions. And Kiva, we can take some now.
Okay, thank you, Skip. Let's see, we received a question in the chat. Since software as a service is a service and the NMR doesn't apply to services, will the agency receive any small business credit for purchasing it through an authorized reseller on the Cloud SIN?
That's a good question. So you're right to be aware of this, that the SBA considers all cloud services a service and not a product. So the NMR does not apply. However, the only thing that gets taken out of the play here is a set aside. You have to issue your solicitation to both large and small businesses. However, if you end up awarding to a small business, that's okay. You still get your credit. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Skip. Next question. Do you know how cloud computing purchasing guidance will change with the FAR overhaul, FAR 8 in particular?
Good question. I wish I knew. I think a lot of that is still happening behind the drawn curtain. I hope that the government will come up with a declaration of whether cloud is a service, a product, or something else. Beyond that, we really don't know just yet.
Thank you. Can you do an order for a commercial cloud using OneGov? We have a requirement for Azure in the commercial cloud and wondering if that is available through one of the 7 resellers on OneGov. Azure, I've heard it different ways, but yes, there's the question.
Well, the answer is yes. You can navigate to the URLs provided in this deck to find out exactly what is being offered. And if you don't see what is what you're looking for exactly, you can always, if the particular vendor you're speaking with does not belong to the OneGov initiative, then you can always say, I'd like the OneGov pricings, please, and leverage the presence of the OneGov initiative. And don't forget, the OneGov initiative is not a contract. The OneGov initiative is simply a negotiation made on your behalf against items that are already on the GSA schedule. So if your contracting shop is familiar with the GSA schedule, you're more than halfway there. Next question, please.
Thank you, Skip. Next question. What if your agency does not follow the FAR? Would you insert your agency's pertinent clauses in addition to supplement?
Good one. I know that there are some agencies out there. Amtrak is one. So I would certainly load up your solicitation with FAR, with quotes from the FAR, and establish them as terms and conditions for your own solicitation. There's no rule against that. So the FAR should be helpful, especially with agencies that don't follow the FAR. They can pick and choose whatever they like in the FAR they like, and omit the rest, and tailor their own terms and conditions however they like.
Thank you, Skip. At this time, we don't have any additional questions, but I will note that I included the link that Skip mentioned to read the agreements and find discounts on OneGov offerings, https://itvmo.gsa.gov. It is in the chat for reference, and everyone will receive a copy of the presentation deck as Skip mentioned.
Yeah, if you're
But no,
quick, you can navigate to that and come up with a question. But if you're slow on the mouse like me, you can wait for that deck to come your way, navigate to it, and maybe you'll figure out some questions from there. But I hate to beat the drum yet again, but the OneGov is nothing more than a negotiation made on your behalf against the ceiling prices that are already on the GSA schedule. And not just on the GSA schedule, specifically the cloud special item number under the GSA schedule.
thank you, Skip. We have a new question. I'm not sure if you'll have the answer to this, but you probably do. How many vendors have provided pricing, etc.? I'm guessing related to OneGov.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's 6, 7, or 8 or so, but they represent the top most popular cloud vendors ever. You will recognize the names for sure, and most everything that agencies are contracting for with cloud, most all vendors and all, especially AI stuff, is listed right there.
Thank you, Skip. Still waiting to see if okay. Are those vendors FedRAMPed?
Good question. Some are, yes, and some are not. Regarding FedRAMP, you really have to be for instance, I know of no AI service that is yet FedRAMP. They are working like mad to get AI platforms and models and what have you FedRAMPed. It's a new thing, and FedRAMP takes a long time, and it's expensive. So it's coming, but it's not there yet. So anyone who wants to talk really technical about anything, get in touch with the cloud team, and we can set you up with the Chief Innovation Officer at GSA, who is the expert in all things technical regarding AI and security and FedRAMP. And we can set up that meeting. Even if it's not AI and you want to talk about security and the OneGov pricing, we have that resource available. This is so new that we are scrambling to come up to speed. We're almost there, but this is not stopping agencies from moving forward with light speed to pluck value from this OneGov initiative.
Thank you, Skip. Still holding for any additional questions.
Yeah, that FedRAMP thing is going to be important with AI because, every time you issue some kind of query against AI, you are likely sending government data up into the AI model that you are conversing with. So that's a real That's a real security risk in the eyes of the FedRAMP and other security people.
Okay, we have a new question. How are agencies using AI if it isn't FedRAMPed yet?
Well, they are careful not to send government data up. You can ask AI questions about, publicly available data. For instance, what is the Census Bureau's take on such and such and such demographic in the state of Texas? That does not send any covered data up to AI. So you'd have to be on your guard in that way, and that's the straight way on how AI is being used today without the FedRAMP.
Thank you everyone for your questions and participation. Please continue to send them. We still have a few minutes left, so keep your questions coming.
We can stay over a couple of minutes if you can't think of the questions that fast. We can stay over a minute or two.
Thank you, Skip, very much for your time. As mentioned, everyone will receive a copy of the presentation, and attendees will also receive one continuous learning point. Your certificate should be out to you in approximately 10 business days. Our systems have been moving a bit slower than usual, so please bear with us while we're still trying to navigate that. New question. How long does it take from start to finish to get a contract using GSA?
That's a good question. Usually any and the answer really is it depends, but I'll try to enumerate the dependencies. So it depends on the size of the contract. Of course, you got more hoops to jump through when it's a large contract. I can tell you that using the GSA schedule checks automatically several boxes of that contracting officers must check. So those contracting shops uh, who are accustomed to using the GSA schedule know how much time they are saving by flying by certain boxes they do not have to check or are checked for them compared to an open market buy. And we have found that most of the delay uh, in the contract letting process seems to revolve around the agency. Well, there's a lot of handshaking back and forth. The agency delivers something, GSA delivers something back, and so forth and so on. A lot of handshaking back and forth. And we have found that most of the introduction of extra delays comes from the agency side. It's a lot of work uh, to be to get a good deal, to make sure that's the purpose of the FAR, to get a good deal, to make sure there's no fraud or abuse, and finally, to make sure that all vendors who are constituents of the government get a fair shot.
Thank you so much, Skip, and you're receiving several thanks in the chat as well.
Well,
Still available for questions.
thanks for attending, everybody. I hope this is a help. There is a recording of this, a dated recording of this. It's 2 years old, out on YouTube. Just Google Skip Jentsch cloud, how to buy cloud, and this recording from today's session will go up eventually. But you can find also a whole bunch of other instructional videos, like how to get on the GSA schedule, and of course if you Google GSA events, you will see the registration URLs for all kinds of instructional webinars held by GSA.
Thank you, Skip. I will note that gsa.gov/events, it's been having some issues in the last 24 hours, but our IT team hopes to get it back up and running soon. But yes, please bookmark that page for future trainings. You do have another question. Is there any information to indicate how much is reasonable to pay for each type of cloud service, I guess?
It's tough to figure. It's a moving target, number one. The GSA prices are simply ceiling prices that can be negotiated down, but what do you negotiate them down to? Then what I find is most helpful is put your IT shop to work. If you're the IT shop, then here's how you get to work. Uh, you go to the various CSP sites. They all have calculators that are up to the minute. And you put in your requirements, very technical, put in your requirements. That way, it's troublesome because it's a little bit like buying a mattress. You can't get apples to apples comparisons very well, but your requirements, like your application, how many pages is it? What's the average size per page? What's the expected visitation? What's the peak visitation? You will have estimates like that in your pocket. Use those estimates to visit each of the major online calculators for each of the major CSPs, and you might be able to get to an answer.
Thank you, Skip. We're 1 minute over, but still waiting to see if there are additional questions. I think a few folks had to run to other training events. Okay, new question. Regarding GSA BPAs, the 2GIT BPA currently does not allow the cloud SIN. Any insight into the next RFP?
So you can send another chat. What RFP are you referring to? It's true, 2GIT does not cover the cloud SIN, but that's okay because because even if you were able to issue a BPA, even if you were able to use 2GIT, you wouldn't be able to use a BPA against it, which is the most popular way to fund cloud because you cannot nest a BPA of yours inside the 2GIT BPA. The only nesting you can do, IDIQ within an IDIQ, is to issue your own BPA against the GSA scheduled cloud SIN. That is the most popular way to do it that I know of.
Thank you, Skip. And I'm waiting to see if, okay, I suppose that answered their question. They said thank you. So,
Yeah, it's a heck of a thing, that BPA within a BPA rule. It frustrates the heck out of a lot of people. But when you think about it real hard and get a headache, it is unfair competition to nest a BPA within another BPA. You haven't run a competition that is fair to all vendors who are constituents of the government. So the only exception, like I said many times, is you may issue a BPA against the GSA schedule, which is essentially an IDIQ.
thank you, Skip. Would you like to close here?
I think we've said all we can say. Uh, Contact the cloud team here with further questions. Other than that, Kiva, I think we'll call it a webinar.
Thank you so much, Skip, and thank you all again for joining and participating and asking your questions. As Skip mentioned, the recording will be available hopefully in 14 to 21 business days, maybe sooner, but we will be in touch and we hope to see you at future ITC training sessions. Thank you.